y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's me, KiaSimone, and listen, I know I owe y'all part 2 of the Nene and Carlos, and I owe y'all a bunch of shit. But I had got caught up on the holiday, the official around and find out holiday. I done sat up and strolled through the streets of TikTok all day and night. I mean, when I tell you I done watched that damn Bammin and Bama from every possible angle. I done walked around singing "We Shall Overcome" like an old church mother all weekend long. All I want to know is why y'all thought in the Lord's year of 2023, y'all was gonna jump this black man in front of all these black people and wasn't gonna get a black ass whooping. I had to take a break from watching all the brawl content in order to come down here. I got to get back because that's where my heart is. So let's get on into it. Before we do, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you have not already. Part 2 of the interview, of course, picks up where they left off, which is Carlos asking Nene why did she feel the need to sue Bravo, NBC, and Andy Cohen. So she starts by explaining that she can't really say much about it because it's still an active open case, but she then proceeds to tell us all about it. She said she felt like she had a love and respect for them that they didn't have for her. She didn't realize that in a lot of these corporate environments, you just here to do a job and they can throw you away whenever they good and ready. She said she didn't have enough experience going in to understand that. So you ain't never had a job? She said for her, it was personal relationships to her because when she got with them, they were big, but they weren't nearly as big as they are now. She said, for example, she was able to call the president of the network directly. But now everybody's so big and you have to go through their people to get to them. And all she wanted was fair treatment. Nene said she's very pained by the fact that she fought for some of these ladies to stay on the show, but some of the same ladies she fought for did not fight for her. Those ladies are aware that there was unfair treatment. And before they get on this internet and try to separate themselves from the dilemma and say, I never said that, I don't know nothing about no unfair treatment, she said, I got all the receipts. She said, I got group chats and screenshots, and I got all the receipts of damn near all the ladies saying that they're aware of or have experienced said unfair treatment. Nene said, and she's always been open to sitting down and having a conversation for the purpose of resolution from day one. Now, she's been willing, but they haven't. Nene, didn't you get on the internet and call them people racist and cokeheads and shit? Didn't you had did that on the internet? So what the hell you mean you were the one who was willing to have conversation? Now, I ain't saying you didn't get treated unfairly, because trust me, I know what it is to be a black woman working for a company. You done built them up for them to tear you down. Trust me, I understand it, okay? But we not gonna pretend that you didn't come down to the internet and say that them is some card-carrying racists and Andy keeps a rolled-up dollar bill. We not gonna act like you didn't say that. So Carlos asked Nene if the breaking point for her was when you were offered a contract for 6 out of 20 episodes, when you have other girls on the show who are being offered contracts for 14 out of 20 episodes, that you realized that you were being treated unfairly. Nene said, absolutely not. I had realized it long time before that. Because first of all, they slow walked me down from about 20 episodes of contract down to 6. So Nene said her thing was all she wanted to know was why, from their side of the table, from their perspective, was she being offered a 6-episode contract. And the only answer that they had for her is, well, because you're not happy. Nene said, well, what do you mean I'm not happy? How you gonna tell me I'm not happy? I'm happy, and if I'm not happy, why am I not happy? Maybe I'm not happy because I'm getting 6-episode contracts. Now, here's the thing for me. I actually see both sides of this coin. I really get what it's like to work in an environment where you have people that drive you absolutely nuts. And you are at your wit's end. You don't want to be bothered with nobody. You damn near don't want to be bothered with this job. And it's hard to hide it. And I get where Nene is coming from when she says, well, why was I unhappy? There could have been a lot of stuff that was going on behind the scenes that the public is not privy to, that is coming across in her public image or performance. I get that. I also get production saying, you're not happy. Because just from a viewer perspective, Nene did not seem happy. She seemed absolutely miserable. She seemed like she hated this show and everything about it. Every season it was threatening to quit. Like, ma'am, we understand. You is close to retirement. You about to collect your benefits and get the fuck out of here. We understand. From a viewer perspective, it did feel like you ain't happy. You don't want to be here. You don't like nobody. Like, oh, okay, girl, bye. She said, why is it that there are women who are not my complexion that are getting 18 episode contracts while I'm getting a 6-episode contract? What did I do that was so different, so far off from what so many other housewives have done that has caused y'all to decide to phase me out? So Nene starts listing all these examples of how she's never been involved in a physical altercation, even though she gets accused of pulling Kim's wig when it was actually Sheree. She's been accused of having a fight with Kim that's never been seen on camera, whereas there are girls within this franchise and other franchises who have actually had on camera physical altercations. She used Teresa from New Jersey as an example and said she pushed Andy down during a filming of a reunion. She says so many of these women have done way worse than I've done, and then even if you want to go to, oh, you pushed the cameraman, oh, well, he was in the way. That is your problem. Nene is so outwardly focused that you won't even correct yourself. Because didn't she crack that man's teeth in some more shit? Like, there's no remorse, no accountability, nothing. I get that she feels like it was based in an unfair treatment. And I'm not saying that it wasn't, because I don't know the inner workings of their network and her contracts and what actually happened between anybody. I don't know none of that. But what I do know is, from a viewer's perspective, Nene was getting harder and harder to watch. Like, Nene seemed like she didn't want to be there. She didn't want to be bothered. And it was like, well, if you don't want to be here, if you ain't happy, if you going to be fighting production about producing, what do you want? Do you want us to watch you be mad every week? So then Carlos brought up Bethany Frankel and compared Nene to Bethany Frankel, who is very outspoken. She is from the Real Housewives of New York. She has a podcast where Carlos said, in his opinion, she speaks very negatively about housewives, but she still gets invited to watch What Happens Live, whereas Nene does not. Nene said, oh, well, I'm glad you noticed that, because I agree. She said there is not a single wife that has been on Watch What Happens Live as much as me. That show was essentially built on my back, and without the Housewives franchises, Andy wouldn't have a show. Nene said, now it's funny that Bethany can say anything she wants to say and she will continue to work. She gets invited to hang out with people. But if I say the stuff she's saying, don't nobody want nothing to do with me. Well, hello. Welcome to being melanated and opinionated. So Carlos brought up Kim Zolciak and said, you made some accusations about her. She said, oh yeah, we all know about her. We all know she got away with doing any damn thing she wanted to do. We had whole meetings about that heifer. She got to skip the cast trip. She wasn't held to the same standard as all the other ladies, but she still got the same check as all the other ladies. And that ain't no damn secret. So Carlos asked Nene, if Andy's watching, what would you like to say to Andy now? This girl said, hey, how are you? Heard you had 2 kids. Heard you got a girl now. I always knew you wanted to be a parent, Buttercup. I mean, for me, there's no hard feelings. I mean, didn't you call this man every bit of a damn junkie on the internet? She said, you know, I'm a Sagittarius, so I get mad, I say what I gotta say, and I get over it. I don't hold grudges, and I also don't kiss ass. Nene said she does wish that they could find their way back to each other because, you know, life is short and there's no need to carry ill feelings forever. She said, I mean, you don't have to work together, but it would be nice to just work through the issues. And I think it really says a lot about a person when they can't say, you know, let's just move on. So you should be able to drag my reputation to hell through the streets of the internet and the back alleys of the courtroom, and we should be able to just go to lunch and say, hey girl, now you know that was a lot, but I missed you. And when I don't want to say, let's just move on, then I'm the one with the damn problem, girl. Carlos said, now I know you said you can't speak much on it, but is the end result that you're intending for this lawsuit to be that you end up back on the Real Housewives of Atlanta? Nene said, well, I wouldn't say that it's my intent, but the fans have been calling for me to come back. And if I had to go back, it would only be for the fans, Carlos said, not the check. Nene said, well, now the check is nice. Now my check should be bigger, but it's nice. And that's exactly why you want to go back by any damn fans. So Carlos starts asking her about whether she watches the show now. And she said, no, she doesn't. She said everyone, including Andy, knows that she doesn't watch TV, but she does watch some of the clips that she sees online. Carlos said, and what you think about the clips you saw online? She said, they're not entertaining. Not a single star in sight. Carlos asked her what she thought about Marlo getting a peach. She said, well, from what I heard, Marlo is the top entertainer this season. And if that's the case, you got a damn problem. Carlos said, oh, what you mean? She said, listen, I ain't trying to shade my girl. Yeah, you better be nice. She got the peach now, and she might be able to help you get back in this. So talk to her nice. She said the issue is to say that Marlo, who has been a friend of the show for years, just got a peach, and she is carrying the show this season, and you have girls who have been on here for years and years and years, namely Candy, who always brags about being the longest standing housewife, and you got Marlo bringing all the entertainment and being the anchor of the show. Yeah, you got a problem. It sounds like they need to be cutting some of those old housewives checks and giving them to Marlo. So Carlos asked Nene's thoughts about Candy. He said, do you think Candy is overrated? She said, yeah. She said, and speaking of overrated, I'm trying to understand why she got this overrated beef with me. Candy has had this long-standing animosity towards me that she cannot seem to get over, whereas she got these other girls, i.e. Portia, who've been dragging her name to hell, and she done found a way to get over it and make up with them, but she just cannot with me. Nene said, I don't think Candy is exciting. I don't think the camera loves her. She said, I think the camera loves her family, but her, not so much. Girl, she said, as much as they want to make Candy the star of the show, and she's this longest standing housewife, she said, I don't think it's a single soul tuning in wanting to see Candy and what she got going on. I don't think she's celebrated. I think she's tolerated. And honestly, I agree. Nene said she thinks that production wants it that way. She thinks they want a bunch of starless people. And so Carlos brought up that Real Housewives of Atlanta was the #1 show on the network for about 5 years running, but it no longer is. Now, the top shows are Below Deck and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Nene said, and that's exactly what I think they wanted. Carlos asked her, well, why do you think that? She said, that's just my opinion. I don't think they wanted these girls to be the #1 show. That's just my opinion. And I have to say that as a viewer, the way that the show just took an absolute nosedive does feel like some level of sabotage. Like there was some level of priority shift and other shows took the priority that this show had. So Carlos explained that from his perspective as a former producer, that he thinks what the issue is that show needs an anchor, and in his opinion, that person has always been Nene. Nene said, in her opinion, as the anchor, she feels like production is also an issue because when they had the likes of Carlos actually knew them, he knew their families, whereas when new producers come in, they don't know them and don't take the time to get to know them. And then she goes on to let us know about the conversation that she and her glam squad had before they came out to film. And she was talking about how Beyonce is the anchor to Destiny's Child, and there is no Destiny's Child without Beyonce. She said, nah, I mean, I don't want to give myself that, but I mean, I'm that. Just damn it. She said you couldn't possibly think you can snatch Beyonce up out of Destiny's Child and think Destiny's Child is still gonna work. No, ma'am. So to think that they could take me out of this show and just replace me with anybody and think it's still gonna work and it's still gonna produce the same numbers, that's a hell no. She said now what they might be able to do is go ahead and get rid of everybody they got and start over. That's what they might need to do. Now, I agree with her there, that they need to just go ahead and sweep the board and start over, because this that they are currently giving us is some bullshit. Nene got a whole bunch of complaints about the show. She don't understand where the friends of the show came from. She don't understand where the fabulousness of the show has gone. She is just really disgusted. And I said, well, you know a whole lot for somebody who ain't watching it. So then Carlos brings up her friendship with Wendy Williams and asked about when Wendy referred to Nene as that girl over there. He said, I really didn't like that, and he wanted to know how she felt about it. She said, well, first of all, I was often confused by Wendy and her antics. She said, now, I was one of her friends on the inside, so I kind of knew what was going on sometimes, and so some stuff I just kind of let roll off my back. But then I'm like, hold on, girl. We was just kicking it. Why you on the TV talking about me like that? She said she tried to tell Wendy that she had to have at least 2 friends that would be safe spaces, that she wouldn't go in on, that she wouldn't drag on TV. Nene said she just could never make it inside that safe space. She was never the person that Wendy wouldn't drag on TV. And I remember thinking when they were friends that it kind of felt like Nene might have met a version of herself. Nene was like that half the time on Real Housewives of Atlanta. She would just decide, I don't fuck with you. Nene said the last time she talked to Wendy, it was Wendy reaching out to her, and it was Wendy trying to make amends. So Carlos brought up that Nene was in negotiations for her own talk show. And apparently that talk show was set to be produced by the same production company that produced the Wendy Williams show. And when Nene and Wendy fell out, they got into it on the internet like they do. Carlos said the rumor was that Wendy supposedly laid out an ultimatum to the production company that they had to choose between her and Nene. Nene said she don't know what exactly happened, but all she knows is she was in talks and negotiations for this show, and all of a sudden when her and Wendy got into it, all the talks and negotiations went away. And she said she hasn't been able to get another contract for another talk show since. Carlos asked her, well, do you think you're blackballed? She said, well, I definitely think that I was. He said, well, why is that? She said, because every time I would have a contract in talks and negotiations, out of absolutely nowhere, the talks and negotiations would stop. She said, especially in the arenas of podcasting and talk shows, she absolutely believes she was blackballed and she has not been able to get a company that will back her. But my thing is this, having been or currently being the biggest reality TV star of all time, why can't you build a show or a podcast yourself? She said that's the thing she's always wanted to do, and it's just always been a no, and I don't understand why. If you got money and you know people and you can get some equipment, I don't understand why you couldn't set up a podcast or a talk show yourself. Carlos asked Nene, does that make her sad? She said it makes her very sad. Now, my thing is, why? You were obviously unhappy on the show that you were on. You have sued the network of the show that you were on. And then you dragged the talent of a network you were trying to get on. What exactly did you expect to happen? So then they got into this whole conversation about, does she think she should be bigger than Kim Kardashian? And she says she absolutely does. And if not bigger, she should be right there with her. Now, my thing is, I get that they're both known in the reality world, but I kind of see them as getting there through 2 different paths. To me, Nene is much more of a personality. She's much more of a talent in regard to TV. And to me, Kim Kardashian is more generational and transactional in how she got to where she is. But Nene feels like it's basically that they pushed Kim Kardashian. They put the machine behind Kim Kardashian, but not necessarily behind Nene. Personally, I don't give a damn. Like, in terms of who's bigger and who should be big, it really does not matter to me. And I'm also a very big believer in comparison is the thief of joy. I don't believe in comparing, oh, well, she's this big and she got all this, but how did she get it? What is it taking her to keep it? Is she actually happy? Carlos played the stars versus starless game with Nene about who does she think has a star and who does she think is starless. I'm not going through that whole list. What I will say is what she said about Kenya, I think was spot on. She went into explaining how she felt like Kenya could be a star, but part of the issue is Kenya kind of tarnished her image when she came onto the show, because we knew her as the Black Miss USA. She was this Black Barbie. Everybody looked up to her. She was this beauty icon. And then she came on the show as a villain, which was, at least for me, the complete opposite of what was expected. Nobody expected Kenya to be this character that she was. So when she came on and she disappointed everybody, pissed everybody off, she thinks it compromised her star factor and her ability to be bigger than she is. So Nene turned the interview on Carlos, and she asked Carlos, having worked on the show for so many years, having been there from the very beginning with me, do you feel like I was treated unfairly? When I tell you Carlos danced around that damn question like his name was Bojangles, Carlos said, well, now, Now, first I will say that I feel like we were all underestimated coming in. And one of the reasons that it was so important to me to make this show successful is the same reason I think we were underestimated. We were Black people. He said, now the show was a major success and there is no handbook that comes with fame that tells you how to handle it. He said, I do feel like you should be somewhere on network TV. You should have a talk show. You should be reading the girls for Phil somewhere, having a good time. I do feel like you are the most underrepresented reality star. He said in the industry, among other reality stars, you are the queen. You are the go-to. You are who they come to for answers and direction. So I do feel like you should be as big as Kim Kardashian. Well, Carlos, why don't you use your network and your connections to help her get there? Y'all keep talking about how Nene needs a show. She needs a podcast. She needs a platform. Well, you don't work for Bravo no more, and you got a show on OWN, and you got relationships at OWN. Why you can't help her? And then Carlos breaks down into tears, explaining how it just saddens him to see them at odds. That he wishes that they being Nene, Bravo, NBC, Andy, and all them, could just go sit down in a room with no lawyers and have drinks and conversation and just hash it out. Sir, now listen, I never worked there a day in my life. So I don't know what Nene's experience was. I don't know what this company's culture is. I'm not here to say whether Nene is right or wrong in her claim that she was treated unfairly. But how in the hell do you expect that they're going to have any level of conversation without lawyers after she done called these people bigots, racists, crackheads? At this point, they can barely sit down and have a conversation with lawyers. Why would you think that there's any possibility of resolution by, well, we can't just go in a room and kiss and make up? Hell no. Why you would think you could drag people to hell through the back alleys of the internet, and then when you need those people and the relationships and networks that they have, you say, I was just mad. Y'all need to just let it go. Why y'all can't let it go? Once you file this kind of claim, once you make these kinds of accusations, you gotta be prepared to sever that relationship. And they continue the interview with Nene asking him about what does he think Real Housewives of Atlanta needs. And my thing is, don't neither one of y'all work there no more. Why does it matter what y'all think? And I guess they spent the rest of this interview trying to show off that Nene has interviewing skills too, that this is her trial run for a talk show. Girl, I wish you the best, but I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn about none of these questions she's asking Carlos about what he thinks should happen on Housewives and who's your favorite couple and should the men be more involved. Man, y'all don't work there no damn mo. When a company is willing to let you go, let them fail on their own. You don't need to be on the internet giving speeches and seminars about how they can pull themselves out of the pit that they put themselves in by doing you dirty. Take what you got from them, whatever money, whatever status, whatever platform, whatever networks, whatever relationships, and use them to your advantage. That's what I think Nene should be doing at this point. I don't think she should be sitting on Carlos's platform crying and complaining about, I can't get a contract, won't nobody give me a podcast, won't nobody give me a talk show. If you don't get your ass down to the YouTube just like Carlos did, for me, it's either you want the accomplishment or you want the attention. Do you want to have a podcast or talk show? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to get that? Or do you just want the attention for talking about how somebody won't give you one? Personally, I think Nene has a star power that goes beyond Bravo. I don't think it's something that Bravo gave to her. I think it's something that Bravo put on a platform and gave to the world. And the thing is, you may not be able to get a contract from them, but they can get your light from you. You can take that same shine, that same star power, and do anything you want to do with it. I hope she is able to find her way to creating opportunities for herself if they are not made available to her. I hope Nene got everything off her chest she needed to get off her chest. But child, that's it and that's all for me. That's about as interesting as this interview got for me. They sat and kikied some more, but I really didn't give a damn what they was talking about. But thank you so much for coming down here and listening to me and letting me get this off my chest. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you have not already. And in the meantime, until next time, just like every time, I love you and I mean it. Bye.